Welcome to Monday Morning Coffee with Inside the Firm. Each week, our hosts will be interviewing local, regional, and national business leaders to give you an inside peek into how they lead their business to success in the ever-competitive business climate.
Welcome to Monday Morning Coffee with Inside the Firm. Today I have a very special guest, Mike Kitko. He is an executive self-mastery coach, speaker, and published author who helps business owners increase the amount of wealth, success, and happiness in their lives and businesses. A Marine with an MBA, Mike successfully served in executive leadership roles for Fortune 500 companies, yet he always felt like an imposter. No matter how much success he achieved, he always felt unsuccessful, unfulfilled, and unhappy. His inability to understand his internal conflicts led him to excessive drinking, uncontrolled anger and rage, and the abuse of everything he cared about in life. The abuse of his marriage, family, professional career, and health are documented in his first book, The Imposter in Charge, and he openly discusses his past issues on his podcast, Lead, Love, Profit, and Play. Through coaching, intense study, and deep work, Mike learned to understand the four conflicting voices inside each of us, which create internal conflict, insecurity, inadequacy, insignificance, and inspiration. By identifying and shifting these internal narratives, we can take complete control of our life and results. Today, Mike's overflowing energy and intensity make a significant and positive impact in the lives of others. He has discovered his true power and purpose, and he feels internal confidence and courage that match how people perceive him. No longer an imposter, he has created wealth, success, and happiness, and he wants to help you all do the same. Mike, welcome to the show.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me. And that sounded pretty awesome. Whoever that guy is.
Yeah, whoever that guy is. Whoever that guy is, I hope his enthusiasm is it sounds it's going to be with his intensity. So, Mike, I like to ask everybody before we get into what we do. It always fascinates me. I want to know how you got here. Most specifically, are you from a family of entrepreneurs? Are you the first? Like, what drove you to entrepreneurial?
Man, entrepreneurism was nowhere in the purview of my family. So I grew up to a 40-year union steelworker father, very blue-collar family, Czechoslovakian, second generation removed Czechoslovakian immigrant. My family was actually a slave family back in wow. Eastern Europe. So yeah, just a couple generations removed from blue collar, or no, one generation removed from blue collar, but couple generations moved from immigration. And just a, I guess beat into me a solid work ethic, work. And you work for the man, and it's all about security and benefits. And man, I tried that game, and I tried to win at that game. And I did win at that game for a long time, but it gobbled me up because it was never where I was intended to be. I've always had an entrepreneurial mind. That's why whenever I would join a new organization, it was just a matter of time before I was in the captain's seat. It's just, we think differently, entrepreneurs think differently. We're always thinking about, how can I make this better? How can I improve this? How can I grow? How can I develop myself? And just always churning that engine. So after 16 years in corporate, 5 years in the Marine Corps, 16 years in corporate, the wheels fell off because I wasn't where I was supposed to be, right? Not air quotes, supposed to be. I always wanted something more, something better, something different, something my own. And hey, when you pray hard and heavy for the life of your dreams, things start to fall apart perfectly, so you can build it back together.
Yeah. Where does spirituality come into this for you? Was that part of your transformation?
Absolutely. It was on the leading edge of it. So I was raised in a dogmatic religious household. So I tried, again, that was another one of those boxes that I tried to fit myself in, and it just didn't work. So there's a difference between religion and spirituality, right? But I tried to put myself into that box of religion and what I was supposed to believe, and what God was, and I tried to cram all these beliefs that just didn't work for me. They didn't fit together. The puzzle pieces didn't go together for me, but I tried to fit myself inside that box until one day I just I gave myself permission to believe in what I believe in, instead of trying to force other people's beliefs on me. And that's kind of like that. Again, that's the leading edge of spirituality. Beliefs create your reality. Reality doesn't create beliefs. So this is a very inside out world, not outside in. But when we're living, taking the outside in approach to life, things, we try to fit in, and we try to we try to massage ourselves and we try to squeeze ourselves into these boxes. But, and this is the magic of spirituality and the magic of this amazing life that we get to live, is that when you reform your beliefs and you create new healthy relationships with your mind and your emotions and your God and your talents and your gifts, as you accept yourself to higher levels, so does the world. Right. So when I was, toxic drinking on a daily basis and up to my eyeballs in alcohol, man, I was surrounded by them. And when I started a journey of building a healthier relationship with my mind, my body, my spirit, my emotions, my talents, my life, my wife, my kids, when I started building a healthier relationship, I found myself surrounded by a bunch of people that were on the same path. Because life meets you where you are. Life meets you where you are and where you're heading. And all you have to do is change what you believe is true, and you'll see evidence of that show up.
Let's go back to the addiction part. I know, I mentioned in the intro about the alcohol, and it's interesting that we're going to be, your episode, as I mentioned before we went on air here, was you're going to be right at the end of the year. So people are going to be looking for New Year's resolutions.
Sure.
A lot of those are like breaking addictions.
Mm-hmm.
As somebody who's broken some huge addictions in your life, do you have any tips for people for how to help them do that?
Yeah. So this isn't probably what people that are mired in addiction want to hear, but I think it's the most relevant. It's what helped me. Now I'm gonna go back. I went 4.5 years without a drink, and now me and my wife sit down and have a drink, and we have a healthy relationship with alcohol, just like we have a healthy relationship with food and everything else. And I've had toxic relationships with all of it, with work, with food, with alcohol, with everything. So when it's about building, for me, it was about building a healthy relationship with these things. But this isn't what people are going to want to hear. But the first part of breaking out the addiction, and I heard it very succinctly and clearly when I started, the easiest way to stop drinking is to stop putting the fucking bottle up to your mouth. Right. And that's the first step. If you don't do that, none of the rest of it matters. So when my mind was in total chaos, when my body was in chaos, and what I mean is mentally and emotionally, when there were all fear thoughts and when there were all fear feelings in my mind and body, that's when I would numb, and that's when I would escape. That's when I would look for, I would work, I would drink, I would eat, I would watch endless amounts of television. And those were all escape plans. Those were all escape routes, because I didn't want to face the mental chaos that was raging in my head and the emotional chaos that was raging in my body. So when I took the alcohol out of my life, I was forced to face what was happening in my mind and my body. And when I started detoxifying from chaos, from mental and emotional chaos, then, I started healing from, years were when I was a child, being molested and being abandoned and being neglected, just being outcast from, in different times in my life. And all of that was raging in my mind and my body. And I never understood it because I never created space to really understand what had happened in my past, what fear, what pain, what suffering, what conflict I was feeling inside. And by getting all of that noise and all of that escape, all the escape routes, getting them all out of my life, then I started to understand what was happening inside, and I got the opportunity to unravel it. That way, when you add things back into your life, you're not escaping anymore. They're not escape. They might be entertainment in some way. It might be just, connecting with something that grapes, right? Grow out of the earth. It's beautiful. A great glass of wine is beautiful. And the point is I want to be able to sit and enjoy that glass of wine with my wife or over a great conversation and not need it to escape something that I can control myself. Does this make sense?
100%. Yeah. And I think you sort of led me into my next question inadvertently. There was, people get rid of the addictions, and then I think we want to replace those with good habits. What kind of tips do you have for the sort of that transition and fostering that?
Yeah. And that you just brought me back to one thing that I wanted to share that I didn't. When you look at, and this is a metaphor for how to change anything. Okay. There's this, I call it the gravity of the familiar, right? There's a gravitational pull that's going to constantly pull you back into familiarity, because your amygdala, the mind, wants the familiar. It doesn't matter if it's familiar misery. It doesn't matter if it's familiar suffering. It doesn't matter if it's familiar trauma. It doesn't matter if it's familiar, unhappiness. The amygdala in your mind is, in your emotional system, is trying to get you back into the familiar, whatever it is for you. So when I decided in 2016 to take alcohol out of my life and to start to detoxify from everything that I had ran from, the metaphor is, if you launch a rocket from the Earth, 80% of the fuel is spent in the first few miles just getting out of the Earth's atmosphere. And then, 80% of the entire fuel payload is spent on the first couple miles. And that is exactly how it is when you're trying to create change. It takes an incredible amount of force to break out of the gravitational pull of the familiar. So what I did on a daily basis was make sure I hold myself accountable for exercise, make sure I hold myself accountable to meditate, make sure I hold myself accountable to get sleep, make sure I hold myself accountable to not overeat and not drink, hold myself accountable to, I've got books all over my house to make sure I was replacing I don't want to say there's nothing wrong with sports, but 12 hours of sports, there's something a little off in that, for me, in that activity, right? Needing to, being able to sit in front of a television for that many hours and indulging. So, replacing the void that of these things that I was losing, replacing them with good habits in terms of, 10 to 20 pages of good, healthy reading every day of things that are going to nurture your mind and nurture your emotions. Getting the media out of my life, getting entertainment out of my life, and replacing it with things that were going to sharpen me physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, intellectually. I started my business, so I was learning how to be an entrepreneur. I was rebuilding my marriage, because I actually filed for divorce in order to kind of eliminate some of the marital chaos that was going on. And now we've rebuilt our marriage and put everything back together in a beautiful way. But I had to pull the plug before we could do that, right? Because we had threatened divorce so many times, and it became empty. So I actually did file, and I was going to file, but I was going to actually divorce my wife. But that's what convinced her to start breaking out of her pharmaceutical addiction. So anyway, the point being is, get all the chaos out of your life and replace it with productive, nurturing, healthy, expansive thoughts and feelings and emotions and just all the goodness that you can possibly pack into that space, the void that you just created.
Yeah. Beautiful stuff. I appreciate, you going candidly on that.
Yeah.
I expect nothing less. Let's shift the gears a little bit to, you mentioned real wealth. I would love for you to unpack that. For you, I think it's subjective to everybody else. I mean, I could name what it is for me, but I would love to hear it from you. You're the guest, obviously. What is real wealth?
So listen, there was a time where I had a good bit of net worth, but I felt broke. I've worked with, in my executive coaching business, I've worked with a guy that, 8 figures easy and felt broke. And the thing he kept saying is, I need income, right? He had basically left he had left a financial firm, and he got a very, very nice package to leave, right? Where they were downsizing, on a huge package to leave. But, he was in a state of panic because I need income. And now this guy never needed another dollar for the rest of his life. But we get these stories, right? We get these stories in our mind and these stories in our body, and we feel broke even though we have all the wealth in this big pile of wealth. So you can't put a Band-Aid over cancer. You can't put money over top of poverty mindset, poverty thoughts, poverty feelings, somebody, trying to escape poverty, insecurity, trying to avoid loss. You can't put money over top of that and feel wealthy. So the first point is clearing out all the money garbage stories that you have, and the relationship, the poverty relationship that you have with money, feeling that money is survival, or money is your identity, or money is your security, or money is whatever, blank, whatever, fill in the blank here, and just say money is just a means of exchanging value in this world. And the more value I give, the more value I receive. So real wealth is a couple things. One is the feeling of wealth inside at all times, regardless of the amount of money that you have in your bank account, right? Your birthright is to feel wealthy. It has nothing to do with money. Money can't make you feel wealthy. You can think thoughts about money that make you feel wealthy, but money can't make you feel wealthy. So it's choosing to feel wealthy all the time, regardless of how much money you have. Choosing to feel successful, regardless of what success looks like, because these are attractive qualities, right? So when you think a thought, that's your prayer. When you feel the emotion, a sponsoring emotion behind that thought, that's the magnet that pulls it into your life. So when you feel wealthy, life has no choice but to deliver wealth on your doorstep.
Yeah, I was in Mass the other day, last Sunday with my daughter and my son. And my daughter, I looked next to me after we went up for communion, and she was praying next to me. And that's when I felt one of the most wealthiest times of my life. I was just like, that was a perfect moment. And I didn't ask her to do it. I mean, she was just doing it on her own.
Yeah.
So
look, there's one ultimate power that we each have, right? One, the power to choose. You can choose right now to feel wealthy, or you can choose to feel poor. Now, if we spent long enough on this podcast, I could literally get you to feel wealth inside of your body, because all the feelings come from a thought. You have it. Listen, you've had a stimulating thought, right? Maybe, your wife in a bikini, or, some stimulating thought, and suddenly blood's moving through your body, right?
mm-hmm.
Thoughts create emotions. Thoughts create feelings. The world doesn't create those feelings. Your thoughts do. So you can think a thought, and you can create an emotion behind that thought. And you can eat literally, like, with no money, cause yourself to feel wealthy. Or with 8, 9, 10 figures, you can make yourself feel broke. You get to choose what you feel on a given basis. And if you can feel wealthy, and feeling wealthy attracts wealth, why would you ever choose to feel broke? You have the ultimate power to choose. You don't have to wait for the trophy to feel like a winner. You don't have to wait for a title to feel successful. You don't have to wait for money to feel wealthy. You don't have to wait for anything. You don't have to wait for a relationship to feel loved. You can feel anything you want at any given time, and that attracts what you want in your life. The thought is the prayer. The feeling is the magnet. Why would you ever feel what you don't want when you can just as easily feel what you do want?
Absolutely. Similar topic, define success for us.
Living life on my terms. We all want different things.
Mm-hmm.
When I wake up and I have an empty calendar, that is complete success. Time freedom.
Yeah.
It's the ultimate freedom. I can always make more money. I can't make more time.
Yeah. Happiness. Define happiness for us.
Ooh, waking up knowing that that life is abundant, that I have everything I need, that anything I want I can create, knowing that I'm valuable, knowing that I'm significant, knowing that if I don't know it now, I can learn it if I need to. Learning that I can say yes when I want to say yes and no when I want to say no, that I'm obligated to no one, that I'm the master of my own destiny, and I can create my day. I can also destroy my day.
Mm-hmm.
And I am my own villain. I am my own victim, and I am my own hero.
Yeah.
When you own all of it, creates a sense of happiness.
Yeah. Yeah. You're describing what I feel like you're describing is a lot of self-ownership and not letting externalities take control of you.
Sure.
Because that's what was happening to you before, right? I mean, all of these things were piling on top of you and taking control of you and steering you in ways that you didn't want to be at, really.
Well, if you look at it, and it's cheeky and it's cliche, but the more pain, the more purpose, right? The more pain, the more power. So when you experience what you don't want for 43 years, and then you start to wake up and you start to open your eyes to, again, what all the chaos you've allowed into your life, and all the times that you've created your own distress and you've created your own pain. And you, again, you said yes when you want to say no, and you said no when you wanted to say yes, and you've lived a life on somebody else's terms, and you've allowed, your wife or your employer or somebody else to call shots in your life, and now you're unhappy and you're miserable, and you put a gun in your mouth and almost kill yourself. True story. You realize that something's ridiculously wrong, because this is not what life is about. Like,
right.
Just living, being pulled behind somebody else's car, with a collar, like what was it? Summer Vacation, right? With Chevy Chase, where, the dog's, on a leash behind the car, and he kept up for a mile. That's what it felt like for me, because somebody else was always driving the car, determining how fast they were going to hit the gas. And I felt it was my job just to keep up. And instead now I'm in the driver's seat, and I'm driving the car, and I can hit the gas when I want to hit the gas and hit the brake when I want to hit the brake. So it's owning, being responsible, taking full accountability, full ownership, full authority over my own life, and not feeling bad to say no when I want to say no, and getting excited when there's a yes that shows up.
Yeah, very important. Let's switch over to business. What is one thing every business owner should be doing right now that they aren't?
Wow. One thing that they should be doing that they aren't. I guess the easiest way for me to answer that is, if you don't enjoy it, stop doing it.
Mm.
And if you love it, do it more. So I'm surrounded by entrepreneurs, and for some reason, entrepreneurs feel like they've got to be all things to all people all the time, and be able to do everything and to master everything, especially new entrepreneurs. And then you grow out of that, and you realize that, wow, if I just do this one thing, the top line keeps growing, and I'll just hire out all the rest. But growing a business, and especially starting out, it's like you almost feel obligated to be the master of all, and to hold yourself accountable, even to do things you don't want to do on a regular basis. And I just, the more I let go of the things that I hate and do more of the things that I love, the more my business grows, because the happier I get and the more on fire I am to engage in that activity.
Yeah, it seems like when you go down that path, you're really listening to the universe. Some people, call, for me, it's God speaking to me. So for some other people, it's just the universe, or an energy, or their spirit. But letting yourself be pulled in those directions of things you want to do seems like just a natural way of existing anyway, right? Humans want to go to the least amount of resistance.
Yeah. But as a Marine veteran, there's a reason you join the Marine Corps when there's 3 other offices that you can stop at, right? Yeah, I mean, you join the Marine Corps because you kind of feel that the punishment is worth the prize, right? So and if it's not hard, it's not valuable, and if it's easy, it's not worthwhile. And we get caught up in this that if I'm enjoying life, I'm doing something wrong, right? So in terms of when I was in corporate, I remember when I would get up, and the thing I enjoyed the most is getting up in front of my organization and sharing the results of the last month, and talking about the plans and the strategies and the tactics and what we were going to be doing going forward. And there was a lot of camaraderie built, and I'm a magnetic speaker, and I get up in front of an audience, and they always leave more inspired. And I didn't realize that this was a gift. I thought it was rote, because if I can do it, anybody could do it, right? So it's that thing that's easy and effortless that people get value at and benefit out of. That's the thing. That's your zone of genius. Like, if it's easy and you can make a lot of money doing it, that is your talent. That is your natural talent. That is your natural gift. This isn't like a Sisyphus world. And Sisyphus is that guy that's constantly pushing that rock up the hill, the never-ending hill. Have you ever seen that? Right. I mean, this isn't a Sisyphus life. This, at some point, just let the rock go back downhill, and go find something that lights you up, that delivers value into the world. The success and wealth and joy and the right way to live isn't about finding the hardest thing to do and then conquering it. It's about finding the thing that delivers the most value into the world, and realizing that you're significant, and you're significant enough, and you're valuable enough to enjoy life too, while delivering massive value to the world. Speaking to me, in my mind, and in my life, speaking is not hard, and I enjoy it, and people get massive value out of it. Why wouldn't I do that all the time? It's not hard for me.
Yeah, beautiful. Last thing about business, and then I've got 2 questions that I ask every guest here is, There's a lot of folks right now on the economic side of things that are very doom and gloom and pessimistic. And I always see an opportunity, even when we started our business in the Great Recession, and here we are, 13, 14 years later, we're doing great. We've never done better. Things are on the right track. There was a lot of lessons we learned from getting laid off and then starting the business then. Like, there's always an opportunity for things. So for the outlook of 2023, what would you say to those people who feel like they're getting sucked into the pessimism, and what should they be what should they be thinking about for their business, their life, and moving into 2023 and trying to make it the most positive experience it can be?
Yeah, and look, this is a hard one to grasp, I guess, when you're caught up in the drama of the world. But keep in mind, and you said your business came out of the Great Recession. My mind goes to the Great Depression, where there were documented cases where, while some people were in food lines, couldn't find the job, there were people with 3. So there were jobs. It's just people weren't looking for them. They bought into the story that there were no jobs. The story at that time was that there were no jobs. The truth is that there was 75% employment. There were people with 3 jobs and there were people with none, that instead of going out looking for jobs, they chose to stand in a food line. So when you turn on the television and you let the media determine your thoughts and feelings, and how you perceive the economy, how you perceive, like, if you let a talking head convince you that there are no opportunities. And I work with a lot of real estate investors. There are literally investors right now that are convinced that there are no homes to buy because of the interest rates, but there are also investors that are turning away deals. Whatever you look for in this world, and this goes back to spirituality, whatever you look for in this world, you're going to find. If you look for opportunities, you're going to find them. If you look for no opportunities, you're going to find no opportunities. Be careful what you're looking for. If you wake up knowing that the economy is going to collapse, you are going to make that true for yourself. You don't have to buy in, and you don't have to play that game. Is there an economic slowdown? Yes, but there are people that thrive in economic slowdowns. Why not you?
Why not you? Indeed. Mike, this has been great. Second to the last question here is, knowing what you know now, and if you could go back in time to when you first started, what you're doing now, what is one piece of advice you'd give your former self?
I'm a lot better than I thought I was at the time. So belief in yourself is it's your ultimate choice, whether you believe in yourself or if you don't. And Henry Ford quote, whether you believe in yourself or when you believe you can or believe you can't, you're right. Right. So again, your belief creates your outcome, but there is no arrival. There's no time where someone gives you permission to be the person that you want to be. You get to choose at any given time. So I went to a seminar a couple of weeks ago down in Orlando, Florida. It was a 1-week workshop, and it was to see this fellow named Dr. Joe Dispenza. Just an amazing, amazing week. And the very first hour of the very first morning, he said, "When you leave here, I want you to recognize one thing. You are who you say you are. Whoever you say you are, that's who you are. You get to determine that. Nobody else does. You don't need permission to be the person that you want to be. You don't need to wait to be the person that you want to be. You can be that person right now. What you want to think, what you want to feel, the words that you want to say, how you want to act, like 5 years from now, you can do that right now. You're just choosing to wait 5 years. If you want to do that, be that person right now. So at the beginning of my coaching practice, when I didn't have any clients, I was like almost ashamed to say I am a coach or I am a speaker or I am, because I hadn't demonstrated it. It's like I had to graduate into that before I could claim that title. No, you are who you say you are. Like, if you decide to coach, you are a coach. Like be that. And you don't need to prove yourself in order to have high levels of confidence, to have high levels of courage, to really believe in yourself. When you believe in yourself, the results will follow. If you don't believe in yourself, they will not. I've had people in my life with 5 and 6 coaching certifications that had probably that number of clients over about a 5 or 6 year stint in coaching. They didn't believe in themselves, so nothing came true for them. But when I started to believe in myself, even without a coaching certification, the clients start to come because people hire confidence. They hire courage. They pay value to feel the attraction that confidence, courage, clarity, commitment, certainty that these create and promote. And they feel that, and they'll lay down a credit card for it.
Absolutely. Mike, this has been fantastic. If people want to learn more about you, what you do, where can people find and follow you?
Yeah, thank you. I am the CEO, the founder and CEO of a company called Inner Wealth Global. So you can find us at innerwealthglobal.com. We offer intensive workshops, masterminds, one-on-one coaching, speaking engagements. There's some training on the website. I also have a podcast, Lead, Love, Profit, Play, and you can find all of that. It's all linked at innerwealthglobal.com.
Beautiful. Mike, thanks so much for your time. We really appreciate it, and we wish you nothing but the best.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. And hey, you don't have to wait permission. You don't have to be given permission by anyone to do what you want to do, to be who you want to be, or to have what you want to have. Choose now.